Last month, I released my own coin, but not the rug pull type, the metal type. I hand-made a drop forging bottom die, and here, under our 1915 Massey steam hammer, we drop forged about 40 coins. But the efficiency of the process could be massively improved. In industry, when they do drop forging, the next step is what's called clipping. They go to a press that might not look too dissimilar to that. A punch comes down from above, there's the negative space below, and they clip the flash that gets formed during drop forging. This nasty stuff around the edges. When we made our coins, I had to hand grind this off. Super inefficient. We've seen clipping dies used at DMM where we saw them make carabiners. We've seen them at WH Tildesley, a drop forging specialist here in the UK. And today, I want to figure out how to make our own. Right. So we need a punch.
How are we then?
Ooh. That was way too close. I made you flinch. That comes in from above, and then we need, what's it called? Die? Punch and die? There we go, die. You drop your workpiece in this space here. The punch effectively wants to be the same size as the finished workpiece. The die is going to need to have some sort of a clearance between these two dimensions, but then it's also going to need some sort of a relief angle there so that as our coin gets clipped, it can drop through without binding and having friction right over there. Now it also needs to be made out of good steel, because what we're effectively doing is shearing steel. It'll hopefully still be somewhat hot, a little bit more malleable, but not gonna be more than like 600 degrees. Now, when we've seen the big boys do this stuff, they had the top die in the ram of their press, the bottom die on the table of their press. So there's tons of clearance, but it means they have to kind of set up these two independent things and make sure that they line up perfectly. They were also doing much larger parts than we were doing. So that's one option. We make a punch that gets installed into our ram. We make a die that gets installed onto the table. But there is another option that I think could suit us quite well. Imagine this is our die with a big old hole in it. Now it's a dough. We put 2 springs on it, guide rods in the spring. We attach our punch to a top plate, workpiece in the hole, press comes down, ka-clonk! The springs pull the punch out. We then don't have to do any alignment whatsoever, and it's just this individual packet of tooling that can be thrown in the press, thrown out of the press. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. We've seen this type of setup in many places, including at Yard of Lead, where we saw them make their sterling silver pencils. These are all the springs that I've got in the workshop, so I can only just hope that some of these are gonna be good enough. I've got some 4340 EN24 steel, which I can only hope is gonna be hard enough. We've got some P20 tool steel. This will be our punch. Make you jump a little bit?
I was thinking about making you jump.
Crap! Don't you dare, because you'll still get me.
What are you actually measuring?
I'm trying to see if trying to see if like it responds fine to being completely compressed. 20 millimeters. More clearance. I think it is possible I could go for the smaller springs. There's a problem here. Clipping is one thing, but stripping is another, and I haven't planned at all about how we're gonna strip. I forgot a really important component. Let's say my finger is a punch, and it's punching out a hole in a solid bit of plate, right? Punch. The little slug comes out the bottom. This is the clipped material. It comes up, it stays on the tool. If that happens, it's a massive problem. It needs to be stripped. Let's see how the pros do it. That there is the stripping plate. Bottom die underneath my finger, stripping plate, punch above the stripping plate. That's the punch, that's the stripping plate, and that's the bottom die. Punch, strip, flashing stays there. I'm an idiot. I think we're gonna have to make something that attaches to the top ram. Bugger! There's no access to the original hole that's in the bore of this. This whole assembly, this system here, is something that the owner, in between me owning it the first time and the second time, put on there. And actually, for forging, it's a pretty good system. Neatly done, did a better job than the system that I had on there. But for actually using this as a punch press, effectively, you need access to the bore to make a nice setup. There's a hole inside that ram where you can put tooling up under. I could just make it on a plate that goes there, and that should be fine. So here is the basic plan. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 components. All of this is going to get attached to the ram of the machine through this mild steel plate with the threaded holes. The springs are going to sit on these red rods, and this bottom piece is our die. Holy moly, I am oh so significantly out of my depth, but I'm committed now. I've got to finish the thing. All right, starting on the bottom die. We're going to cut this to length, 210 mil. Coming right up, boys and girls.
We're gonna start off with some holes.
Why will you not cut? What the Oh yeah, that's a sharp drill bit. Getting the boring bar set up. We've got 3 holes. We're looking at the underside here. This little recess is the clearance. They'll hopefully enable us to slide out the finished punched parts when they come through the actual hole. But see that? It doesn't look a lot like the size of a coin. It needs to be much bigger, hence the boring bar. Oh yeah, that looks pretty good. It's the same size as our coin the whole way down. We're now going to make a little relief so that the coins pop out. So about 80% of this is going to have a larger diameter. It stops there, and we go up. I think we can take it out of the vise now, I hope. So this is the way it's actually going to be oriented. Workpiece will be inserted. Oh, it's perfect. It gets punched. Now, we got tons of options if we want to make it bigger. It's very close though, that's for sure.
Hello, my name is Die.
Cut some material for the top portion. I don't know what it's called. It's like the plate that holds the punch. Cutting it. I will not be able to unburr it. And I can't bear it. I can't bear the thought of not being able to unburr it. Oh wait, I have a special tool just for this. Purchased it on Amazon. £30 gets you one of these. It's got little carbide inserts on it.
So that's 2 components done. Are you gonna make the punch or the plate first?
Probably the stripping plate. Wait, hang on, you've got the words all wrong.
Well, I meant the top plate.
Oh, I forgot about the top plate completely in how I manufactured this. If I'd have remembered about that, I would have added a couple of holes for bolting the top plate to this, but I did not remember about that. Bugger! These are the stripper poles or pins.
I think they're called poles. Pole dancing.
What?
It's called pole dancing.
What's that?
Well, when you grow up and become a man, you can go to this place.
I literally just let go of it. It's gone. Thankfully, we can find another Sir Clip. In the interest of being formal, and that I don't know his first name, we refer to him as Sir Clip. This goes on the outside of our stripping pole. We're going to use this to make sure that our stripping plate doesn't fall off the end of this thing. Parting tool, get groovy with it, Sir Clip can go on. I did not have the perfect size drill bit. I had planned to make these pins an interference fit in those holes, but without the right drill bit and reamer, one of them, we could probably force an interference fit, where the hole is an ever so slightly smaller diameter than the pin and it grips with friction. But on the other, it just falls in there. That's why drilling a hole isn't how you make an accurate hole. That's why you need to use something like a reamer to actually get a more accurate hole. It does mean that I have to take our punch plate, go back into the mill, drill and tap a hole here so we can put a set screw in to hold those pins in place. Kinda done. Next up, stripping plate. Now we can put our springs in, chuck that on top. Let's use gravity to our advantage, not disadvantage. Chuck that there.
I don't think those clips are going to be strong enough to hold that.
You don't think so? You think it's just going to ping right off? You ready? Oh, God! Look at that, looks profesh. I got you too. I can't compress it at all. But it means it's gonna strip really well. And the last thing to do is make our punch. Well, second last thing to do is make our punch. Right, Jamie, I need your help. I need you to kick the end off this so we can chuck it in the lathe. You okay?
What the heck?
There we go, thanks, Jamie. Man, we got feeds and speeds dialed today. This is looking beautiful. 45.19, we are almost there. Oh, it's like it was made for it. But I'm gonna need a tiny bit of clearance there. Otherwise, stuff's gonna get stuck. How much clearance? Well, there's actually science to it. And it goes as follows. Now we're making the shank that goes in the hole in the punch holder. Close, but no cigarettes.
Still no cigarettes?
Nah. Well, I can always do a press fit, like an interference fit. That actually might be quite neat. I think it's close enough that we could. We can always make it smaller, but we can't glue a little back on. One punch. Now these two things both need to hold an edge. As we are shearing our coins through, we're going to be putting a ton of force on these itty bitty corners, and those itty bitty corners, both sides, need to be sharp in order to shear and cut that material. So these both need to be hard. The material for this is EN24 in the UK, 4340 in the US, 0.4% carbon, a good dosage of nickel, but not considered a tool steel, only really considered like a mid-carbon alloy steel. This, however, P20 tool steel. Same material that we made the bottom die for our coin forging out of is actually a plastic injection molding tool steel. So not the perfect choice for what we're doing, but a lot better than butter. Ow, that's really hot in there. It's not like getting a pizza out of a regular oven. Ow. Well, that heats up, we're gonna cut out the ram plates. Should really buy some steel buckets. Is it still in one piece, and does it have a big old warp or crack? We got lucky. A little bit more oxidized than I'd like though. Once this cools down, they'll go back in for some tempering. Right, so we're making these clipping dies, supposedly to be more efficient at making coins. But it has occurred to me that actually this might be far less efficient than just hand grinding them. If it takes us, say, 2.5, 3 days to make these clipping dies, for it to be a useful investment of time for me to make these clipping dies, I would need to make so many coins that just simply grinding the flash around the outside would take 3 days, 4 days, 5 days. That'd be a lot of coins. Probably thousands of coins. So is this a true exercise in efficiency? I don't know. But if I did make thousands of coins, I'd need to sell them, and I would sell them on my Squarespace website, who is today's sponsor. I've had a Squarespace website for almost a decade, and I sold my very first products online with them. And last month, we sold 40 of the coins that we stamped out on our present day Squarespace website. Whatever it is that you want to showcase, sell, or offer, Squarespace is there to help you. They've got countless drag and drop themes, which means you don't need to be a computer whiz to build a beautiful website that converts customers. You can run your email marketing campaigns through Squarespace to let your audience know what you've got going on. You can sell your time with Squarespace scheduling. We use it to have people book a one-to-one arrow making class last month. And the best thing is it's an all-in-one platform. You can buy your domain there. There's no plugins, patches, or upgrades ever. And if you go to squarespace.com/forge, you will get a free trial. You can try it. And if you love it, code FORGE at checkout gets you 10% off your purchases. So please use that code FORGE. Give them a shot. Let's get back to it. They've done tempering. These now have a lovely coating of iron oxide from being heated up. So we've got to clean up the outside of this. And on our die, I would quite like to have a nice, flat, pretty surface for it to form the edge. So I'm going to quickly whack it on the surface grinder. So there's an awl, there's a post-it note. Here's a punch, find where the awl is. Will it? A perfect circle punched out. Yeah. All right, so now take this apart. Heat this up, drop that in. Oh yeah. That's what we want. Now I've got to figure out how to put the stripper plate on. So I'll put this here. Whoa!
Oh, you bent it.
No! That's some strong springs, isn't it? I'm sure this is exactly how the veteran tool and die makers assemble things. Up she goes. Sick. Punch comes down, stripper plate compresses, finishes punching, stripper plate strips, boom. That's sick! Look at that, boys and girls! This handle up here allows me to set a return stop, so the ram isn't gonna go up any higher. These let me set a depth stop, so if it's punching too deep or not deep enough, we can adjust this based on that thread. It all looks good, you know? Let's test it. I don't think we strictly need to test it on the flashing of the coin. I think we can just test it on any old bit of sheet. So let's grab some copper, see if we can have this be our first test. Oh, it's perfect! Oh, that's so sick. Let's find out how thick we can punch on it. 1.5 millimeter brass. Oh. Okay, we found our limits. Did not like that, did it? See? This press just has no guts. It barely popped a hole through that tiny little bit of brass. Bent our stripper plate. No bueno. Straightened out the stripping plate, and now I want to see how it works on real drop forged steel coins and they're flashing. There's our drop forging die. No! No! You've got to be kidding me. Running theme, isn't it? Press isn't strong enough. I think there's an additional issue though. I think it's possible that the hole in the die isn't quite big enough. You see, it didn't drop in. On those cold pieces, they dropped in nicely. When we were measuring up, I didn't account for the old CTE, coefficient of thermal expansion. But when it's hot, it doesn't fit, does it? Come on! You joker! Now we're going to be ruining the temper. Delightful. You can now see 2 areas of flashing. What I now need to do is disassemble this contraption and make that hole bigger. I just ran the calculations, and by I just ran the calculations, I mean I asked ChatGPT to run the calculations for how much that 45mm steel disc is going to expand based on its coefficient of thermal expansion at the temperature. It was 45mm in diameter. It's going to expand to 45.53mm in diameter. That's half a millimeter. That's a very big difference in the grand scheme of things. Take 2. We've got a bigger hole. Hopefully it punches. It's blooming stuck. Bloody stuck in the die. Wow, that's now super cold. Does it slot in? Please tell me the hole's big enough. All right, let's try it. No! Punch, dang it! No! Ah! What if I forge it more under the steam hammer so that the flashing is as thin as possible? Take 3. Come on, baby! Come on! Yes! Yes! It did it! That is the flashing, and that is the coin! Thank goodness. The flashing is clipped, and it looks good. There's almost no burr. I mean, that thing is basically ready to rumble. Apart from the stamping defect, it flew out of the die and then I had to put it back in. I think that's what the stamping defect is, but we clipped it. One success is one thing, see if we can replicate it. Fucker! No! Yes! Flashing number 2, took more effort though. Oh, yay! Come on, baby. Yes! We appear to be absolutely right there in the margin between this working and not working. Even a smidge less pressure from that press, and I don't think we'd get any of these things clipped. Ever so barely enough to clip them when the flashing is thin enough. Real bugger that it's not more consistent than that. But I think we can do something with it. Even on these 5 attempts here, I'm not having as much joy as we had when we did our batch of 40 or so the other week. They're either not sticking to the die and jumping right out, giving me double stamps, or they're sticking to the die so hard that it takes forever to get them out. And that, my friends, is exactly why we can't take for granted mass production at all. Because getting this stuff perfected requires somebody to have spent a career studying, learning, practicing, and perfecting the art of making drop forging dies, clipping dies. I have not spent a career doing that, but I did have a bloody good time giving it a shot. I think there's some tweaks that we can make. We definitely need to make our stripper plate out of high carbon steel that we can harden. I got to improve how I drop forge under the steam hammer, and that's just the type of stuff that gets me excited. Thank you very much for being here. I hope you go build a website with today's sponsor at squarespace.com/forge. I appreciate your time. Bye-bye.